So what is HDInsight? Just a quick kind of recap of it. So HDInsight is not Hadoop. Hadoop is an on-prem installation of it. HDInsight is something that exists solely on Azure and in the cloud. And what is it? So it's an Apache Hadoop-based service. So Apache is the engine behind Hadoop. They're the people that made it, created it, went with it that way. And it's a modern cloud-based solution platform that can manage data of any type or size. So there's no data types, there's no data sizes. We don't have to worry about varchar 20s or nvarchar 100s or big ints or regular ints. It handles it all, no matter what it is. It handles special characters, whatever. But the big piece about big data is just having big data, we don't get any value of it based on its own. We have to do something with it. The same way we have to do something with our normal data sets. So we have to ETL it, transform it, manipulate it, and get it in a way and in a format where we can actually analyze it, work with it, and start getting some insights and some analysis around it. So HDInsight consists of, there's architecturally, the way that HDInsight works is called a head node. It works with this head node, and then it has all these data nodes underneath it. So you can almost think of it just like a normal kind of server process where we have one server that controls all the other children. And our head node, or our master server, is the server that runs all the data nodes and tells all these different pieces, this is what you need to do. And it can coordinate. It's kind of like the project manager. You guys go here, you do this, you do that, all the way through. And how does this really help us as we're going through this? So what do we get? Some big benefits that we're getting out of it is we can use this to integrate into our social media platforms. So what's Facebook looking like in regards to my company? What is Twitter doing for my company? And how do we integrate all this data into our existing environment? How can we do some advanced analytics on it? So how many times does this phrase appear in this giant text file that I have? Or what's the live changes? So what's the weather like right now, like in Dallas, as we were talking about earlier? So we have some different ways that we can look at this where we can really get a lot of really good value out of our big data. And so the first thing that we need to understand about HDInsight is HDInsight needs an Azure Blob storage account. And what is an Azure Blob storage account? It's almost exactly as it sounds. So it's a storage account that lives on Azure that holds all the data. So all the data that we want, that we're going to process, we actually don't house within HDInsight. We house it within the Azure Blob storage account, and then HDInsight references that storage account as it's using it. And this gives HDInsight the ability to do the computations while all that storage is being held on disk. So the Azure Blob storage account is holding all that data, keeping it on disk, and HDInsight is doing all the computations. If you think about it from a normal kind of server architecture, it's almost like a linked server. So we have our server, our storage accounts over here, and our HDInsight account over here. And yes, it does slow it down a little bit because we have to go across from storage to our HDInsight cluster. And we're actually going to see it kind of go a little bit slow here just because we're going with a really small sample set. But if we think about what we're normally passing through here of millions, billions, trillions of data points and all this different data from all these different sources and these huge data sets that we couldn't even store on a normal server, then all of a sudden it makes sense. And it's going to make more sense too when we talk about how we need to destroy our HDInsight cluster when we're done with it because it's all on Azure. So since it's all on Azure, it's all running all the time, right? So that's what Azure is. That's what it gives us. That's what's great about it. But for something like an HDInsight where we're just running some analytics on it, we don't need to run that all the time. So we can destroy our cluster when we're done, and then we can just rebuild it. And by having this data on a separate storage account, we can just leave the storage account running, and we're not losing anything by having HDInsight run it. And so that brings us to our last point there, where we can also create and destroy our clusters, but we can leave the storage. So we're not losing the data, but we can still do our analysis on top of it. All right, so the first thing let's talk about is how do we create this cluster? So we talked about creating this cluster in Azure. How do we create it? What do we do? The first thing we need to do is we just pull up Azure and we need to log in. And when we log into our Azure management platform, we're going to see our list. And if we scroll down here on the left, we're going to have HDInsight. So we're going to click on this, and then we're going to click New. down at the bottom. And backing up, it's just down in the bottom left down here so we can see it. And we're going to click on New. And it's a data service, so as we click on New, it asks us what kind of category we've got. So, and another note, there's some other stuff that we can do here in Azure as well. So if anyone's used reporting services in Azure, it's all managed through the same management portal. And we're going to do a quick creation, and let's give our cluster a name. So we're going to call it Intro to HDInsight, and then how big of a data set do we need? So how many data nodes are we going to need? So as we're running through, do we need 4 data nodes? Do we need 8, 16, or 32? So 32 is the biggest. That's, I've got petabytes and petabytes of data, and I'm processing it all at once. For just this little sample here, we're just going to go with 4. And then we're going to create a password. So what's our password going to be? That's going to give us a didn't like my password, so let's give it a new password, and then we're going to select what storage account we want to use. So if we haven't created a storage account yet, we need to go back and create that. So assuming that we didn't have a storage account here, and this is where all that data lives. So all the data of what we're going through, this is where all of it lives. Yes, there are analytics in the HDInsight ecosystem. What we're actually doing, though, within HDInsight is we're processing the data, and then we're going to use another tool like, say, Power Query, where we'll get to at the end of this presentation, where Power Query is actually consuming that data in Excel and brings it into Excel. And then once it's in Excel, we can use all of our normal day-to-day, Power BI that we've got, all of our great tools that we've got today. Good question. So let's go ahead and create a storage account. Let's say we didn't have one, so we'll create storage, click on New again, and it's going to say, okay, let's create a storage account, and then what do you want to name it, and where do you want to store it? So if we didn't have one, we just give it a name, and we call it, Intro to. And what location do we want it in? Do we want it in the East US, West US, North Europe? And we have all these different places where we can keep it.